Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast, where we simplify the complexities of your leadership journey. My name is Mo, and I'll be sitting in the host chair today because I have a very special guest, Hanna Bauer, who is the founder and CEO of HEARTnomics Enterprises, a leadership and business transformation company dedicated to aligning values, mission, and systems for sustainable impact. Hanna's story is remarkable. Diagnosed with a terminal heart condition as a child, she became the first child to undergo a groundbreaking heart procedure, a medical breakthrough that has since saved thousands. That experience shaped her lifelong mission, helping leaders turn adversity into growth through love and excellence. She's a faculty member with the Maxwell Leadership Team, Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, and an international speaker who has worked with corporations, nonprofits, and government organizations to build resilience, strengthen culture, and achieve results. Hanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, an honor, a pleasure. I love what you're doing. I love the work that you're putting out there. So I'm just excited to be here today with you.
Wonderful. Well, it's good to have you on the show. Hanna, why don't you tell my audience a little bit about you, your journey, where you came from, and how you got to where you are today?
Ooh, okay. How long we got? No, just kidding.
We got a while.
Yeah, well, my a little bit about my journey, like you mentioned, basically the highlights. I learned love and excellence from really observing as a child. I went through what was diagnosed at the time, a terminal heart condition, and there was no cure. So there's a lot of uncertainty since I was a kid. In having to live in that uncertainty, a lot of times, you as children, you're not aware of what's going on. Well, in my case, I was aware very much. Every heartbeat was very heavy, very understanding the breathing, understanding that also there was no like, what are we doing next? How is this going to get better? It's going to get better in the morning. There was none of that. So growing up with that and yet seeing the love that really sustained me through that. Actually, when I saw what happened was when they did the 10th year anniversary. Actually, they were filming a 100-year anniversary for the hospital here, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, where they interviewed my doctor. What were they trying to do with a child that there was no cure in sight, and you're trying to do all these things from the doctor's perspective. It's the first time I heard that. He said they were just trying to keep me alive long enough for technology to catch up, and that was their goal. And as I heard him and as I went back and I saw, well, what did keep me alive long enough? And it was that love. And what kept them going was learning from failure, the excellence, because it wasn't like the breakthrough came, but before that, there was a lot of failure points. There was interventions that didn't work. There were drugs that didn't work. There were surgeries, open heart surgery that didn't work. There were a lot of those things. Now, when I heard that, it brought things together for me at that time. I already had 4 children. I was running a business, and it's like, okay, that's it. That's what happened. It was understanding the care that we do as leaders as we were going through all this, so the people, the community that come, and also the excellence in not giving up in failure. Because of them not giving up in failure. And again, it's my heart, right? It's like, I'm a kid. It's not like they're just, hey, we're just going to try again. We need to change a paint color. The ad didn't go well. It's an actual heart understanding that their commitment to excellence and learning from their failures really led to a revolutionary way to impact not only my heart, but the heart of many thousands of kids afterwards and adults. So that's where the whole HEARTnomics came together. Love and excellence. And then it's not like everything was tied up with a pretty bow at the end. Because as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
a lot of things go wrong. There's a lot of failure points. Every morning you wake up unemployed. Gotta make reason, for those contracts, your teams, you're making a space for you in the business place. And there's all the uncertainty that happens. Policy changes, the budget changes, technology. So at the time in 2010, when I was going through really like listening, understanding what as a business owner, what could I do to essentially do the same thing for my business, keep my business alive long enough for innovation, for whatever the solution was we needed to do to be able to come into the marketplace so we can be not only sustainable, but provide the solutions for our clients that they needed. And that's where my Lean Six Sigma came in. And that's where my systematics way of viewing of the perspective came into play, where I started looking, it's not just one thing. It's not because sales are not happening. Well, what's happening was with the sales system. Do we have the right CRM? Do we have the right way? How are we listening to the customer? When we hear the customer feedback, do we have a way to get that feedback and inside the company. So all these other questions, I can start looking at a systematic way, the same way that they were looking at my heart is how I started operating with my own organization. Being able to not only survive through 2010, like when we came to know the Great Recession, but become an innovator in the marketplace that then allowed and opened me to have the opportunity to work with many other businesses, not only in my sector, but now what I get to do worldwide. So that's been a bit of my journey.
That is fascinating. You've built HEARTnomics on the idea of leading with hope, empowerment, accountability, results, and trust. Can you break
Uh-huh.
that down? And how does that work for your people and for your clients?
Sure. Well, heart. Everything
Yeah,
starts with heart, right?
yeah.
So for that, I had the privilege a lot to work with many business leaders. And ever since, again, like I told you, I got to really see, as a patient, top professionals. I mean, I was looking for top cardiologists in hospitals, Emory University, Eggleston, Scottish Rite. So I got to see a lot of these professionals as a kid. I mean, of course, I'm experimenting. They're doing different procedures on me, but I'm getting to see how they work, how they talk, how they see, how they even break the news to me, how they break the news to my parents, how we're all of this part. So that made a big impression on me. The volunteers in the hospital, the nurses, all of these people that came in. And then as I went into college and started serving at the university, training other leaders and traveling, I started seeing that there was a pattern with this high achieving leaders that in face of failure continue to be able to really operate out of resilience. And that's why I didn't know the word resilience. I just knew that's what they were doing. Like they were coming back up from really bad setbacks. Later on, I came to learn, okay, that's resilience. So heart for me, when I built this framework is the hope, because being the catalyst without hope in every one of those situations, whenever we through the heart, through the business, at the university, all those places, hope wasn't just a thought, it's a catalyst to move into action. So it was that was had to be the first part of my framework. The empowerment really get to deal with the engagement, right? Because I got to see it wasn't just about me. Okay, this is happening to me, but even being empowered by the medical community later on, and me empowering other leaders, empowering the people. But how do you do that? So it was very much there had to be a point of empowerment because other people are not going to do it for you. You have to equip others to be able to do it for themselves and be able to do greater things together. And accountability, that one was a tough one because there's so many points. A lot of people think that accountability is negative, but it's not. We're talking about ownership, owning the situation, owning your thoughts, owning this. How did we even get here? But owning really also the solutions, owning my commitment to how we're going to get through this. And then the results, because we can't change what we don't know. And we really can't continue, really say we're moving into progress or transformation without the results. There has to be some sort of metric. There has to be some sort of way that we can communicate back and forth. It can't be subjective just on what you think, what I think, how I feel. I mean, we start there, but that's not where we stay. And same thing with trust, because it takes a team. And honestly, without trust, there is no team. Without trust, there is no leadership. So this for me became the framework that I repeatedly saw a pattern with high achieving leaders that got to accomplish great things, not just in sustaining, but in innovating. And is the foundation is really values-based leadership. The 5 areas for a leader to grow in, to be able to then lead their people to whatever it is that they need to do, because that's what a leader does. Constantly having to allow you, constantly having to take people somewhere. A lot of those places they've never been to before. So let's do it with heart. That's the foundation.
Hannah, I've seen you emphasize that resilience isn't just bouncing back, but it's
Hmm.
about fueling transformation. How do
Yes.
you help leaders reframe resilience in their organizations?
Well, a lot of times, first of all, people get frustrated because, oh, they're not resilient. And they may not even understand what resilient is. It's like, this is frustration with like, you're not there. It's like, and understand it's like, you can't force somebody to be resilient. You can't say, we're going to be resilient in this. You got to build it. So the first thing is understanding that resilience is not the skill in a sense. Resilience is the outcome
Mm.
of what we're doing here together. So if you think of it like in a sense, resilience is the goal on the way to the mission, because you can't just force somebody's. The first thing is the frustration that people will say, well, why can't they just get up? Why can't we just move forward? Why can't we just, whatever that just is, right? Really, that just a lot of times is that resilience, is that bridge. So when working with organizations, is seeing that, okay, well, what exactly is that? I mean, what exactly do we need to bounce back from? And that starts again with acknowledgement, awareness. Well, did we really need to? What is it that we're asking my team? What is it I'm asking my team to move forward from? So being clear and the not only what could have seen the breakdown or what the frustration might be, that is the number one thing is bringing that awareness. What are we talking about? Okay, now the other question comes from there: did they have the skills needed to be able to bounce back from that? Do they have the resources needed to bounce back from that? And then, well, also, is there a will? Do they want to
Right.
bounce
Yeah.
back from that? Because it's not just like this skill. They might be perfect. Like, well, yeah, they've been trained. They know how to do this. Okay, then there might be a reason, well, why not? What is that hesitation? And you'll understand that even with resilience, even if you think about it, in essence, why, when do we need resilience? When we have trauma. And you think about it, individual person, there's trauma. So there is a will. If you're talking about an individual, we're talking about, hey, they need to be resilient. First of all, they want to get through it. So if you think that for an individual, you're doing that in a corporate level, we have a lot of individuals with a lot of different trauma points.
Hmm.
So what happens is you have to look at the culture, right? Because the culture is what's going to help, that is going to tell the people that are in there, how do we deal with events like this? How do we move from this? Do we move from it? Some organizations are honestly stuck in trauma. They're stuck in trauma from mergers that didn't go right, or from leadership suddenly gone, or perhaps the succession plan that wasn't there and suddenly somebody had to come in. Those are trauma points. Just like for an individual, there is trauma for an organization. The pandemic, policies change, budget cuts, layoffs, AI, those could
Yeah.
be signs of trauma. So when we're talking about resilience, well, what exactly we need to be them to be resilient for? Because the resilience is not the end of itself. The resilience is so that we can do something together. A lot of times too, that might be there's not a clear vision. We need to get through this. Okay, so we can do what? So, like, okay, not just get through it. What are we going to do together? So even clarity in vision, to where you may have all the skills, you may have the right people in the right seats, you may have the right resources, but they're not maybe a strong enough reason for why, or the urgency, or what exactly is it that we need to do this, because there may not be clarity on what is it that we're doing together. What is the vision? What is the mission? What is it that we're doing this together in an organization? Because that's what we're there, right? We're there to do
Right.
accomplish something together in this place.
Yeah. Hannah, some leaders hear words like love and excellence and they just dismiss them as soft skills.
Yeah.
But you say they're foundational. I love it. Why do you believe that love and excellence are essential to sustainable performance?
Well, let me tell you, it's because I learned it the hard way. I literally like broke the system. As I mentioned to you, I was going through a disruptive time, right, with the company, and there was budget freeze. Basically, our customers, we were working. Most of our customers were federal government. There were schools, so that budget got frozen with 2010. The real estate, basically, there's no budget. Okay, then we had the suddenly the we were a very niche market. We were state specific, and then there was a new standard called the Common Core. So now suddenly these big players, Penguin Books, McGraw Hill, all those people now are our competitors, and the contact that we have became obsolete us overnight over something we didn't do. It was just policy. And the other thing that came was the rise of the ebooks. At the time, we were 99% print, and now there's this new technology. So it was going to require a lot from our team to recover with not the resources there. They didn't really knew what the new standards were going to look like because they hadn't released them. And then we didn't really know, not only as a business, but as a entire sector, how do you do a business plan with this new ebook technology? That was going to require a lot of trust. Where I went wrong is I relied on policies, processes, memos, system to try to bring rigidity to a situation that didn't require rigidity. It actually required adaptability. And it was my failure as a leader to not recognize that we really needed to be adaptable, to be flexible, and not to be someone that was so rigid. And that's what happens with fear. You think about it. If you're a person with their fear, you're just going to stick to what we know is true. We close everything down. We're going to shut everything down, right? We're going to protect what we can. And that's what happens in fear. And in reality, we needed to be that adaptable. And the only way that we could be adaptable is I needed to learn to love my people. So I had the excellence, I had the processes, had the SOPs, had the KPIs, we had the sales markets, we had the CRM, we had all of these things. Bam, 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 bam. Standards. We're all standards, but we didn't have the rapport in place, the love in place to be able to then lead the people through being flexible, adaptable to a place we didn't know what it was going to look like. So they're not soft at all. And it wasn't like, oh, let's hug and kumbaya in the morning. And love, you think about it, come on. Like we do things for love. We sacrifice. Love is sacrificial. Love is servanthood. Love is putting your needs before my needs. We talk about servant leadership, very much so. You need love to be able to serve others. We talk about having leaders that have empathy, leading with empathy. Well, you need love to lead with empathy. You can't do that. You can't be a leader that uses emotional intelligence, which we're asking our leaders to do, if you don't have love. So it's not, and we see this again and again. Leaders that lead with emotional intelligence are leaders that lead high performing, winning teams. And they need emotional intelligence. Well, guess what? That's rooted in love. So it's not a
Right.
soft. We need to be able to show, how do I show love? How do I show care? And again, we know that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. We know that
Yes.
goes back to love. It is not a soft skill at all. It will cost you everything. It will cost you everything when you're scared to death as a leader and you're still going to have to love your people by listening to them and be able to guide them and give the support that they need when you yourself may not feel like you're getting what you need. It takes love, it takes courage, it takes a lot of things, and it takes a lot of energy. And the excellence comes from that because the standard is the standard. At the end of the day, you can't switch the standards. I mean, in standards, I mean, we have policies, right? We have things that keep us safe. We have policies that dictates on how we do market with one another. There's policies in place because dictates, they kind of tell us the rule of the game. Like there's certain things that you have to meet. I mean, thank God for standards on restaurants, right? I mean, do you want to go eat at a restaurant with an A grade or with a right? Then you need to make sure you got some good health insurance after you go eat there because your stomach may be upset. So standards tell us where we need to work at. So we can't be lowering the standards. Sometimes people think, well, if I love my people, then I'm going to have to, I can't keep the standard. On the contrary, they'll love you for keeping the standards because once I know what I need to hit and I'm being resourced and I'm being coached to be able to hit those things, we're going to be better. We all do it together. We are going to grow. We are going to be able to do what we say to do. But for that, leadership. I can't love my people and I can't keep the processes and the excellence if I myself am not a good leader. Only a leader is only through leadership that we can have the balance between those two. And there's times, I mean, you see that with businesses, there's times where you're going to need to spend to be more of that coaching leader because maybe you have a new team or you had again a big loss or even gain in a workforce, and there's times where you're going to need to be a bit more process because we're learning a new process. It's just like in life, there's sometimes where you need to devote sometimes more time to your health because of something happened and a health scare, and sometimes you need to spend more time with your family because there's a
Right.
big family happening. It's the same thing as a leader, is being able to tell that in the organization, and it requires the ability to be able to do both.
Hannah, let's talk about your new book. Congratulations on your new book.
Thank you.
Hustle with Heart, 52 mini shifts to maximize your impact. Love it.
Yes.
Why did you decide to write this book?
Okay, so I think a lot of the times we do these things for be therapeutic to ourselves, honestly. And the main thing, again, I believe in leadership, but and a big part of leadership is multiplication. You can't transfer just a feeling and expect somebody else to transfer that. So I wanted to find a way that I could transfer that I could help the leaders that I help with in a systematic way that still got them what they needed in the years of hope, of empowerment, or things that we just like, well, how do you measure hope? Like, how do you, can I do that? Well, yes, you can, but there's a way to grow in hope. And it's like a muscle. You can grow in hope. You can grow in empowerment. You can grow in trust. You can grow in those things. And this is what this does. It is one little shift already. I know my leaders are super busy. They don't want one more thing to do. So I have it down to like this whole thing is one bite size. There's 2 pages. It's all the work for 1 week. You can even like, just one a day. That's it. That's all you have to do, because I thought of this as for the busy leader. Not only was I leading organizations and I'm training other people, but I also got 5 kids. So I'm trying to keep like, well, how can I get this done? Because I still need to grow in this area. Are there areas I need to grow hope in? Yes, I do. How do I know? Because I look at the areas that are going down. I look at how my energy, how it's feeling. So when I feel that, I go right in here into hope. Okay, what is a draining thought? What is just the same way that I did with as a kid surviving through heart disease. I implemented here the same framework that I did the moments where I couldn't breathe. And the first one, the framework, because we want to grow in heart, but the way we do it is through beat, and that starts with belief. So it's just going back to just belief, and then engaging, acting, and transforming. Again, going back to alignment 100%. So that's how this little book works. It's a simple, bite size. Was born really out of in the CCU rooms as a kid, surviving, but the same principles apply. And this is what's interesting, well, because as I was, the heart surgery happened, and let's say, oh, all is well. It's like, hey, you're normal. I started feeling later on in life a lot of the same physical ailments I used to feel when I was going through those heart episodes. And I didn't realize the level, the impact that stress caused, the uncertainty, the fear, those things. And I when I started recognizing that is when I started applying the same part. Okay, well, what did I do back then? First thing was pause. I needed to pause, because although my pretending trying to do things and my heart not working and not breathing, I just needed to pause. And that's what this was meant for. It's like, hey, pause. Let's get to this part. And that's where the initial part was belief, because fear comes in. It's a constant thing. I mean, with a lot with my leaders, there's a lot of reasons to fear. It's not because like, oh, you shouldn't be afraid of anything. No, there's reasons. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty. Uncertainty will bring in fear. But guess what? Your greatest opportunity will always be surrounded by uncertainty. Always. That's why there's opportunity. So
Yeah.
in the greatest of uncertainty, we have opportunity. So I wanted my leaders to see that, to get enough rest, a pause, be able to grow in the area that they're seeing they're a bit low in, so that they can go in and seize the opportunity.
Yeah, the book, it's in the name and it focuses on mini shifts rather than these massive overhauls. What's the power in small intentional changes for leaders?
Again, it's in a busy world. It's just a little, what one thing can I do today to make a difference? It's not big. It's about being that greatness in that moment. I don't have to be great all the time, but can I be great in this moment?
Yeah.
And it makes it attainable. Well, can I be great? What will make me great in this moment? Right? Sometimes that greatness in that moment is that pause. Maybe greatness in the moment is believe, or greatness in the moment is really to engage. Let me call somebody. Let me write this text, or let me send this email. And that's what it will call you to do. It will call you to do actions. And even then, like, how do I measure that? So it's that ability to, like, in a place where we get overwhelmed and a lot of times feel out of control with our schedules, where we can just focus on being, what is the greatest thing I can do right now for me? And that's what the power of the mini shift, because it's not a big thing. It's not for a lifetime. It's not going to change the entire way that my company operates with this. No, but I can change one thing, and I can change just one small thing. And I can be great in this one moment when I engage and I do this.
If a leader was in the bookstore and came upon your book and they opened it up to a specific page, what's one of the ones that you would hope that they opened up to speak to them right in that moment?
Um, Actually, I would say that, well, I mentioned a little bit about this one, but mini shift number 4, use hope as a catalyst of action. And the draining thought, meaning that hope isn't enough to create change. And a lot of people's like, that's a thought. That's the reason why you don't engage with hope. It's like, oh, that's not enough. And already with the thought that, yeah, because as much as you want to believe that hope is the catalyst for action, immediately these other parts come in like, is that all you really need? It's not really enough. I mean, you need resources, you need people, you need a plan. What's hope anyways, right? So immediately this that. So, but the mini shift here is shift your mindset to see hope as the first step towards action. Again, it doesn't have to be the action. It's just this first step, like first step towards something that's going to lead me where I want to go. I don't know where that goes yet, but you know what? I'm not going to take a step unless I have hope. You're not. You need to have that hope so I can take the first step that's going to lead to whatever it is that I need. And actually with this one from Maxwell, my mentor, what he says regarding this is where there is no hope in the future, there is no power in the present. So that's the first page. And then the second page then is actually taking them to, well, let's work through that. But this is true. If there is no hope in the future, there is no power in the present. And we talk about being great in the moment, being that leader where, and a lot of us are leaders and we are doing this. We're serving others because we believe that together this is greater than me by myself. That's why we lead. I mean, you're a
Yeah,
leader, people you're leading. It uses the greatness, understanding that there has to be hope right now so I can have hope in the future. And I do have to be able to transfer that too. Because again, my people may be skilled. I believe that. I believe they have the skills, they have the resources. I'm there for them. But all we might be needing right now is just hope. So how can I do that? And I will walk them through beat to be able to do that.
great. Yeah, the book really connects values, purpose, and performance. So how
Mhm.
can leaders avoid burnout while still maximizing their impact?
One is recognizing. I think one of the reasons why we have burnout in the workplace is the conflicting priorities. There's conflicting priorities that people are getting from one place, from the other, and from the leader themselves. Hey, we're doing this great thing, and you may think at the end of the day it's really great or good, and then like, well, that's not what I wanted you to work on. I wanted you to work on this,
Hmm.
you know, or we're supposed to do this. So, the burnout comes in because of not having clarity in priorities. But for a leader, a lot of times you can't dictate, right, how the position that you're in or how people are given things, but you can dictate the priorities in your life. So one of the things, and this is why I do spend time, although I'm very much about helping the organization, and that's where a lot of my work comes in. It's the leaders that are going to be able to take that organization, and there are leaders with burnout, and the burnout again is not having clarity in what is priority now. Not all the time, not forever, but what is my priority right now? What's my priority for today? That's going to tell me what's my priority for the week. What's my priority for the month? But if I'm not clear on that, anything I get, even from work or family or everything else, is going to be conflicting. And I'm always going to feel like I'm behind. I'm not enough. There's not enough hours in the day. Well, that tells me 100% is I'm not clear in the priorities. And if those are the priorities, what am I doing today to make sure I'm spending my most time in that or I'm making progress in that? Because knowing what my priorities are and then all my time is gone over here creates a lot of stress. That's what we're feeling. Like, it may not even be a lack of, like, I know what I need to be working on, but all of these things are pulling me away where I can't do this, or I feel like I can't, or I feel like it's not enough. So then we have this gap. So the thing is, okay, how can I, or should I? Is this truly a priority? Because if it is, why doesn't it demand everything that I have to bring to it? We have to reconcile that. And that's how we start getting back not only our power, empowerment, but we're able to live out who we are. But it's very true. Burnout is very true. It is definitely a thing. I mean, actually, I think I have it where it's like over $800 billion is lost to burnout. Over 77% of the workforce has raised their hand. 77% say they're in burnout. So, and then you have burnout leaders. It's costing leaders their teams. It's costing leaders their health. I've seen many great leaders get sick, lose their families, lose everything just because of the burnout. There's nothing left in me. And actually, that was one. And when I wrote the book, it was part to fill how do I fill my tank. But also when I was going through my heart problem, that's exactly how you feel. There's no life left in you. Like you're fighting for that breath, you're fighting for that beat. You know you want to be alive and like you can't. And then it's okay. I had to focus on just breathing. I didn't stay there. Later on, I got to walk. I got to go to similar to that. But there's times where you have to focus on just breathing, where you have to focus just on getting the heart. And there's no shame in that. Absolutely no shame. Because the thing that sometimes that's what happens a lot of times with organizations and the culture, there's shame that brought in like, no, I gotta go hard. We're going 100%. We're gonna do this, max out. And it's like, when we said it, we were like beating at that horse. There's power in taking that pause. There's power in focusing on that breath. It is the greatest thing for both in the person, but also you have to see what is giving that breath to your organization. You have to, what is that breathing? A lot of times people say, well, it's money. Like oxygen is what makes organizations grow. But if the money is not coming in, if that breath is not coming in, yes, it's going to put in a lot of other systems in alarm, right? I mean, that's what happens with the business owner. If the sales aren't coming in, if the income is not coming in, it starts all the other things like, beep, 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 beep. But it's honestly taking that breath, understanding what is that? What is the heart of my company? What is the core systems of my company? What is the livelihood of my company? Because we have a lot of different people are giving you all kinds of messages of what it is or what it should be or what the future is going to be. But you have to be able to get down to that. And really, that's going to help you not only with the burnout, but that's what helps with the innovation. Because you innovating doesn't mean that you have to leave what you already do. As a matter of fact, for example, my surgery is a heart ablation. Now, ablation had been used for many years to stop people from bleeding. It's basically a burning. It's what was used back in the Civil War. Ablation means a burning so that it will stop, the blood flow to certain places. That's all it is. It just wasn't used that way in the heart. So a lot of times I see my leaders and my business owners just want to throw everything out. Like, well, this is all these things are coming in, and it's not that. It's like you can be innovative by understanding what is the core that you bring to the marketplace, and can we use that core in a different way? That's innovation. But pausing allows you to do that.
Hanna, when somebody finishes this book, what do you want them to walk away with in terms of their leadership journey?
Knowing how to recharge themselves. I want them to know, like, hey, values-based leadership, 100%, it works. I have a system right away. Something comes my way, bam, the wrong email, I can apply Beat right away. Something is like, I got to do this thing that I have no idea, and I really need to empower my people. I know how to empower them by just doing just 10 things. I can just go to the one I spoke to. So I want to give them something that is quick for them to be able to, just like the breath, right? I mean, I don't have time to plan on breath. I just have to do it.
That's right.
I have to do that. But I want Beat to be that. I want Beat to be that immediate breath that will help them. Let me apply Beat. Let me apply heart.
Well, Hanna, I love the acronyms. I love everything that you're doing. Where can my audience connect with you? Where can they get your book? Where can they find more of Hanna?
Absolutely. Well, the book you can find on Amazon, like most books. Just go look up Hustle with Heart, 52 mini shifts to maximize your impact. So just Hustle with Heart. You can follow me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, Hanna Bauer, Facebook, same, Hanna Bauer. You can find me there, and HEARTnomics.com. So that's heart, just like the heart, HEART. Nomics, NOICS. And that's the economy of the heart, HEARTnomics.com.
Well, Hanna, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing today your passion for leadership and for loving your people and your clients is infectious. And I know that my audience is going to get a lot out of this, get a lot out of your books. Or out of your book. And so we'll make sure that we put a link for that and all your other links as well so that they can connect with you. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with somebody else so that they can learn a little bit more about Hanna and what she's done, and you can take your leadership journey to the next step. So until next time, don't forget to sign up for our monthly newsletter. It's free. And Hanna, thank you so much for coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for setting the stage. Appreciate all your work.
Yes, ma'am. Bye now.
Yeah, bye.